to the Analyst desk for the last game of the day already. Fnatic versus Rogue. It's gone pretty quick today, I gotta say.
Stomps across the board, hasn't it?
Yeah, let's hope that this one isn't as much of a stomp. I'm here to cover both the introduction and the picks and bans with Guldborg and Caedrel, so very excited. I'd like to pull up the standings for a second just to have the lay of the land, because we have a very interesting situation in that Rogue is on a 7-game win streak, right? Those 2 games that they lost were actually very early on in the season. And then Fnatic now in 5 and 4, just coming off an 0-2 week.
Yeah, definitely are. Not to be like the devil's advocate for Rogue, but you come into week 1, you lost to G2 and Fnatic. You then beat Mad Lions in a game which you stole. And those 3 teams on paper are our top 3. So let's say they lost those games. They've beaten the rest of the pack. So now they've come back into the second round robin. They're against Fnatic again. As much as Rogue are our first place team, this will be very telling as to how their strength is against the top 4.
But I think a lot of that also goes into the, they are the only team who remain consistent, right? While the other teams have been struggling a little bit, Rogue has been the reliable, kind of stable team we could always, well, rely on to actually come up and perform against the teams where we thought they would beat them, whereas the other teams, you know, they were looking like favorites, weren't able to take it. And I think that's obviously why Rogue is in the position they currently are at.
But I can't follow your perspective in that now replicated versus the top dogs and also in the playoffs. Now, the $1 million topic, I think, about Rogue has always been how formulaic they are and how they play the game by the numbers. And in splits past, that's also been levied as criticism against them. Is there anything in their current 7-0 run that you discern from that? Like, it's different? Are they approaching their wins with a more X-factor aspect?
It's weird, isn't it? Because I feel like Rogue is the one team that thrives in the chaos. You know, you think about how the split has gone, the patches after MSI, the durability update, all these OP champions coming in and out of the meta. Yes, they don't define the meta, and they're not the first to pick things like the Poppy or the Sylas, or they're not, you know, one step ahead of everyone, but they're just in the sweet spot that they're able to practice these champions, stay on top of things, and I feel like this all comes down to their practice, which we've heard from so many different teams, that their practice, everyone loves practicing against Rogue because they're so conservative in how they approach the game. They never really let it get out of hand, and to the point where you don't really learn anything from the game.
And it's also just so different from because I feel like with this Rogue iteration, they're way more flexible than they were in the past. You know, that's why they also regarded as as good as they were in best of 1s, and then once it came to best of 3, if one team banned out or beat them at a specific style, they would often fall flat. But with this roster instead, I feel like they have so many tools to bring out different playstyles, and they just click so differently with each other than they did in the past.
You agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that they have a good balance of, I mean, previously, let's think back to Rogue last year, you know, where they have Inspired. It was the kind of inspired show in a sense where, yes, you could have Larssen on mages, and yes, you could have Hand Sammer on late game carries, but the most of the game plan was play for Inspired. But now that Malrang's been on the roster, the incorporation throughout the whole year, his adaptability and being able to get his team ahead just shows more of like a team playstyle where Trymbi's much more free on the map, Larssen can roam more. And yes, you can argue that yes, he's stuck playing early game champs. He plays things like Jarvan into 5 dashes. But I think that there's not much of a weakness because he's been playing so many different champions.
It's also interesting that all we talked about was Malrang, right? Come spring, but now it's more of a holistic thing for Rogue. Let's look at their opponents in Fnatic. What a hellish week they have just had behind them. They lost to Misfits, they lost to Team Vitality, and I was super optimistic about this roster. I think even way back in spring, right? Kind of fell in the playoffs, but where do we land now with this Fnatic? You
know, it's an interesting discussion because I was right at where you were going into last week, where I'm like, wow, Fnatic, they're so multi-dimensional now. They're not just playing for bot lane, they're not just playing for offset. They can move up towards the top side, and it just feels like every piece is moving exactly as it's supposed to do. Then came last week, and it felt like playing it on a higher level when teams started contesting the top side of the map. Fnatic kind of fell apart as well as a team in terms of how they functioned as a 5-man unit. It felt like the bot lane was playing for themselves. Then later on to the mid game, they got integrated. But that like self-sufficient style we saw for Razork, where he played for the lanes instead of himself, wasn't really there, I feel like.
Yeah, we can bring up the bot lane champions that they've been playing Fnatic versus Rogue. And I think there's a small hole in Fnatic's drafts. And it's not a big one, but as we zoom out later on in the discussion, we'll see it. Twitch Zilean, Kate Morgana, Zeri Renata. The only main meta champion that they're playing, I think, is Zeri. We've seen a little bit of Draven, but things like Kalista and Senna we haven't seen from Fnatic yet, which are 2 lanes are fantastic to play for or to leave on isolation after being even, that they can use their support to roam around the map on. You know, Lucian, Nami, Kalista lanes, Senna lanes, Seraphine lanes is what we've been seeing from Rogue. So Fnatic, not so much adaptability, but going to more lane-dominant kind of styles and countering what the enemy bot lane throws at them.
Yeah, but I also feel like the contrast to when these champions, we don't have to draft for that. Like, but the Twitch into this area where it's like, okay, we will take control of it later into the stages of the game. We will be the team that sits quietly and then can scale. They don't always, you know, kind of put them in the right position for it. I also think sometimes Hilly on some of these enchanters are definitely not looking as comfortable as he could have on some like other champions instead, where you get agency of the rest of the map. He feels very stuck to bot lane when he's playing enchanters.
Yeah, I think engage supports is the Hilly show. You know, Hilly's been a bit quiet this split. Normally you think of him as the mad scientist doing these crazy plays. Fnatic's in an even game. Hilly does a Hilly thing, they're ahead. If you look at their team compositions as a whole this split, when they have engaged, they've won every game. It's only when they draft things like Kayle, Twitch, Renata, or Azir, Caitlyn, Morgana that they really struggle. Where is this engage coming from? Well, Wunder's, Odoamne, and Gragas, I think, are 100% win rate right now. He's been having fantastic games on things like that. And the one Kayle game that they won was when Hilly was playing Rakan, right? So they actually have an avenue to engage and end the game. When they're playing things like, one of their comps was Kayle, Zoe, Twitch, Renata, you don't actually have any CC. You can't really go in. You're just waiting for the enemy team to make mistakes into you. So closing games out and punishing the enemy teams a lot harder, which I think Fnatic's very good at because they love to team fight.
To be fair, Vitality's game could have gone either way, but it just feels like every time Hurley's on an enchanter, it's not like Rocket side. It's not like you don't have the same roam timings anymore. But it feels like Fnatic at times ignore these timings. And I think that's the big issues I've had. I've not seen the rest of the map be enabled by Hurley the same way you would on engage support.
And let's look back to spring, Aphelios Jinx meta. You look across the LPL and the LCK, they're still defaulting to Aphelios and Jinx. LPL, I think Aphelios is one of the most high prio ADs when AD carries are banned away. Why don't they just default to that? It's Aphelios gets good engage with his gravity gun. Upset is a very vocal player on Fnatic. You can hear it in the voice comms. He's very communicative in team fights especially. So when it comes to engages, he can just throw out an ult, get a flash, and then they can set up around an objective, rather than him playing these Twitch champions and things like this, where he needs an enchanter next to him and he needs a lot of time to scale up. I think they have the confidence and the caliber to actually push games forwards.
And that's how they've done it in the past many, many times. Let's contrast that to the bot lane on the other side, Comp and Trymbi, who have gotten high praise also from the other bot laners in the league, right? Saying they might very well be the best. We asked also to make your all-pro team. You and Jamada agreed. Discord said Upset and Hilly though, but that's how that goes. But contrast these two bot lanes and then where in Comp and Trymbi's strength lies, both in terms of that champion pool possession as well as being able to counter the enemy as well as the laning phase.
Well, you said you just kind of lined them up there. Right, one thing, the flexibility of champions that you're bringing out. There is just way more flexibility coming out from the Comp and Trymbi bot lane. One thing is that can enhance the 2v2 in terms of the Kalista lanes you bring out, but it can also enhance the rest of the map in terms of overplaying Senna, Seraphine. We're completely weak side. We're playing up towards top side or mid lane for the 2v2 with Malrang and Larssen. There's different ways to enable them, and I think that's what makes the rogue bot lane so scary right now is the fact, one thing, you don't know what you're playing against, and the second off, when they are playing aggressive, you need to be on your back foot.
Yeah, the beauty of Rogue is sometimes you just have no clue what the hell's going on at times, where Malrang will get late invaded, he'll fall behind, or you think they're going to play to one lane, all of a sudden he shows up in the other, right? So I think that Rogue give you a paper draft where they're saying, we have a Kalista lane, we're going to play bot side, and then Malrang will do like a level 3 gank top randomly, and then you'll be caught off guard. Now you have 2 losing side lanes when you should really only have 1. And now the top's ahead. Malrang will just sit bot as he was supposed to do. But before he actually fell into what he should do, he actually did something prior. So there's a lot of unpredictability around playing against Rogue. And even if nothing happens in the early game, their macro is just so clean.
Yeah, indeed. We are going to cover picks and bans here on the desk. And I just got the cue that it is about to be ready. So as I bridge the gap to that, I'm really excited to see with all this context in terms of the bot lanes as well. What are we going to see? I think we need to see Fnatic pushed a little bit and then finding different solutions than what we had before.
And while we are talking a lot about the bot lane right now, I think that's the matchup to focus in when we get in game. But like to move on towards the draft, right? We've seen so much Poppy. We've seen so much Talia as well already come through. So I think for sure there's something to look forward to.
Top focus as well in Fnatic versus Rogue.
Into picks and bans we go. So Rogue on the red side. Traditionally, we see Fnatic love to counter pick bot lane. You know, if you first pick Zeri, we'll go Twitch. You want to play Lucian Nami, we'll pick Draven. Zeri already taken away. What kind of picks are we looking at here, you think?
Yeah, well, once again, like Poppy coming through as well. I feel like those are the ones like we already saw it blind picked already. The funny thing is as well in terms of AP junglers, not really looking at Malrang to be that specific one to go for them because he is that kind of jungler that will enable the lanes as much as he can in the early game. You talked about the Jarvan just earlier as well. So I think for sure those kind of mismatch ups that we see earlier today in the LCK with bringing up the Morgana, I don't suspect that too much here.
So taking away the Jarvan to deny a lot of early game pressure, there's a lot of OPs open. Sylas, Gnar, Poppy. A lot of first pick worthy champions that could be picked up here by Fnatic. We'll see if Rogue want to play some kind of Seraphine lane as well.
Well, Jarvan ban is so interesting because that kind of speaks to me that you don't want to pick Poppy yourself, because if you pick away the Poppy yourself, you're perfectly fine with picking in towards the Jarvan. And I mean, just as you talked about it earlier, why not just locking that Aphelios immediately for upset?
Yeah.
First pick and not even counter pick.
It's a lot simpler, right? You don't have to overcomplicate things. Pick Twitch, pick Draven, pick anything. Tristana was upset's game. I mean, he had a good Tristana game, but I think just do what the LPL and LCK is doing. Default to kind of good scaling picks that have agency. Aphelios is one of them. They've already got good engaged. Larssen and Humanoid, probably our two biggest Azir players in the entire league, are going to pick that up. Poppy still up. Sylas still available. Do you think that's something Humanoid would look to?
Yeah, I mean, even now as well, if you know they want to play towards that bottom side, you can still slap a Gnar, not be too afraid that they're going to put too many resources into the Wunder basket. You kind of have an idea that they're going to be playing for upset instead. So coming through with the SC, I think that makes a lot of sense ever since we saw the Corki nerfs as well. You don't have to be worried about Corki being slammed in. The AP nerfs to his Rocket really just allows Larssen to now shine and scale into the late game on this champion.
Weird one for Fnatic here. Do you go Renata? Do you just pick up Gnar, Sylas, have great solo lanes? Do you counter the jungler and pick something like the Trundle? So they have so many options here to pick, and obviously whichever they don't pick will get pinched. You know, if they don't pick Renata here, they're gonna lose Renata and Nautilus. If they don't pick Trundle here, they're gonna lose a jungle pick. To me, something like the Sylas would just work well, or the Gnar, yeah. So they've opted into jungle top. That means they'll drop their mid pick and they'll drop their support pick.
And, you know, Trundle is one of the few champions in the meta that isolated works into Poppy. That's the reason it gets picked. Now, the reason why people don't like picking Trundle into it is because Trundle as a champion right now just struggles with a lot of champion that's in the meta. The amount of range he has to play into, you know, already playing into this year. Now there's a GP coming in on 3. These champions are very hard to navigate against, so a little bit telling of the matchup that we're going to be watching.
Yeah, I think Fnatic need to be careful of what Rogue can pick up here in bot lane. I mean, they could just pick up a Jinx trade, make it happy days, even across the board counter pick support. They could even go for some kind of Draven lane, which I think Comp would be very happy for. But I think it's on Rogue to make this bot lane matchup volatile if they want to, or shake hands and farm. Obviously, Rogue's picked their full top side here. Fnatic yet to pick a mid laner, so of course Rogue will target things like the Taliyah, anything that Humanoid can roam on. Maybe something like, as much as Azir would beat the Lissandra in lane, it's again another champion that Humanoid can roam around.
I would exactly think the same. I think whatever Rogue needs to do here is make sure that Humanoid cannot bridge mid lane pressure into bot lane pressure instead. Yes, there's the support matchup that you can take into account, but for now, Rogue don't care about that. They can just pick an AD carry on 4, then move on towards support counter pick on 5 instead. So really, it's just about mitigating the pressure that Humanoid can apply.
Definitely is, and I think this was an awkward choice there for Rogue. You know, Sylas, Lissandra, you'd probably take away Sylas in most cases just because of the power of the champion on this patch. Fnatic one more ban here, and I expect Rogue to pick their AD carry on 4 here. Draven Jinx could be an easy look towards, or pick away something like the Renata. Deny that from Fnatic, keep that from yourselves. Rogue would like a little bit of engage then, so I think counter-picking support is just better all around, but you never know how high they value these champions.
Actually, Renata here forcing Upset to take Cleanse, you know, into the champions. You already see with a Trundle, with a Gnar, it would honestly be a really good slam to come through. But coming in with a Caitlyn, room open for Morgana as well. Other champions, of course, to pair up with the CC long range to come through. Another thing Trundle doesn't like too much. Looking solid.
Yeah, I think they don't want to pick a melee support because they're against the Trundle. They want to pick a Caitlyn Lux, Caitlyn Karma, Caitlyn Morgana lane. So now the question is, do you pick Renata here as Fnatic? Do you blind something like the Karma? Oh god, Humanoids. Oh, Corki is here. But Corki got nerfed on this patch. Is it a worthwhile pick?
Again.
So I've actually seen so Corki just from solo queue as well has gone on towards a Shield Bow Manamune Essence Revo build now because of the exact AP nerfs that came through to the Rocket.
Beats as well, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to some of the AD styles instead, that still gives that like crit damage you really get on the long range there instead.
So they've gone for the Nautilus blind because they're saying to Rogue, okay, you pick your range support, we'll have kill pressure, you have push, and Rogue's responded with that saying, we're gonna go for Renata. Looked like they were hovering Braum for a few seconds there, but obviously choosing for the Caitlyn Renata lane.
Honestly, Renata feels so good to play into Nautilus. Like, you can handshake him out of his queue, and not only that, you know how with Caitlyn usually put down a trap when an enemy gets CC'd? If you hit a handshake, Caitlyn can just put a trap anywhere. You just handshake it over on towards the trap. We've seen Fnatic play this initially when Renata came out with Hilly on this.
So let's zoom out a bit. Rogue, incredibly good team fighting, a lot of range to work with. Azir, Caitlyn, pushing lanes as well, very volatile lanes, but not so much engage. Poppy, good front line, but a lot of damage to work with. Fnatic, similarly, a lot of poke, hyper carries, but also a lot of engage on their side. You know, Pillar, Mega Gnar, a hook. They have tools to actually start fights, which what they were missing last week.
And I think that makes it a little easier for them. On the side of Rogue, they have to be way more careful with the way they navigate this game because there's only one, like you have the hostile takeover to create space, and you have the Poppy. Those are the things keeping the distance outside of the damage coming through from the Gangplank and the Azir itself. Where on the side of Fnatic, you need to play around flanks here. You need to make sure that you're not just running front to back into the Poppy. Make sure someone's coming from behind. Hilly potentially with a Hex Flash. He's back on a champion with Hex Flash. We know how psychopath he can be with the engages. That might be exactly what Fnatic needs in a comp like this.
Might be exactly what the doctor ordered. Fnatic is trying to remount after losing 2 games yesterday. No, it was last week, in fact, Sjokz. And Rogue on a 7-game winning streak. Let's see if they can keep it going. Fnatic versus Rogue.
Well, the Analyst desk set us up beautifully for what will be a banger way to round out day 1. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about this draft because I think that Caedrel made some great points about the engage tools that Fnatic have when it comes to the team fighting. Hello. The concern I have is engaging into Azir, Caitlyn, Renata, Poppy. I think that Rogue's comp inherently likes it when you engage into them, especially when you think about Gangplank's ultimate, the amount of space that it can provide, especially into something like an Aphelios. And so on paper, I just kind of prefer what Rogue have drafted for themselves, with the caveat being that I think that it's super important that they get onto objectives first. Caitlyn in particular loves being able to set up those traps and create this zone with which you have to play around. And I think that that's really the thing that stands out to me for Rogue, in that they have a lot of zone control, as we see a bit of an early skirmish.
Well, there's the bop onto Trymbi. Gnar thrown down. Hylissang forced to flash. Humanoid relatively close by. Upset down to 450 HP. Trymbi is going very low. Can flash over the wall and is forced to do so. Continue to harass down Comp. So trading Hilly's sums for 3 from Comp and Trymbi.
So overall, a good start for Fnatic, but notice Humanoid's position here. Larssen will have control over the wave, and we'll be able to start this push very early and get a bit of poke damage. Not that that will necessarily mean a huge amount against Humanoid this early on, but yeah, good start for Fnatic at the very least.
It is indeed. And of course, in this mid lane matchup, a little surprised in some ways to see this Corki locked in, but I just want to quickly throw some numbers your way. Larssen's most played champion is Azir with 43 games. His second most played champion is Corki with 25 games. So absolutely aware of the intricacies of how this will play out. I think, Vedi, what you mentioned about, like, compositionally speaking, how Rogue have some tools to deal with Fnatic, I absolutely think Larsen's Emperor's Divides are going to be pivotal.
It's so funny to me because we speak to pros all the time. They're like, why do you say that I'm like this type of player? And I'm like, well, you know, that's usually what you play. I'm like, no, I play everything, dude. I can play everything. I can play everything. And then we look into the stats like, you know, you've played 7,000 Azir games, right? And you're like, yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, but I still play other things. So, of course, Larssen is a super phenomenal player, but we typically know him for his mages, as Malrang has now run into Razork.
Stepped into Razork's jungle, dropped down the ward. Larssen is shoved very far forward and can come to the support. But Malrang was cut off from pushing in behind Upset and Hilly, who, by the way, are pushing into Comp and Trymbi very, very heavily. So Malrang unable to make a play or try to punish that.
So Razork did a full topside clear into red buff. And conveniently, that covered for a potential early Malrang gank. But now they're contesting over this crab. Razork should force him off, given that the priority in the bot lane will come from Upset and Hylissang, meaning that that will be secured. So Fnatic continue this small lead in the early game. And I think it's really important that you isolate this Caitlyn and Renata as well. Not that long ago, when we saw Caitlyn lanes, we would actually see the map being split, where you would do your bot side camps, you would then use early push to, well, you could even invade very early on and kind of divide the map, force the enemy jungler out, and then control that side of the map. We see it less often these days, but I like the pathing that Malrang tried to take to kind of burn more summoner spells out from Upset and Hilly to then actually give more agency over to Comp and Trymbi.
Of course, Razork making his way down. Dredgeline will find Trymbi. Uses that handshake. Razork flashes forward. The Pillar of Ice is fantastic. Trymbi's locked inside the minion wave. First blood secured by Hylissang. They're not done yet. Comp gets chomped, but there's no further follow-up, no further damage. And Comp's able to walk out for now.
A really good gank from Razork and setting up this Fnatic bot lane for success. Typically, this team has been a very topside focused team, but they're returning to old and, well, successful ways as they look to try and set up Upset for success. He will not secure first blood. That will, in fact, go down to Hilly, but still, Fnatic find themselves with that first kill.
I mean, Trundle is 6th, 7th most played champion for Razork. Nearly a 70% win rate, and that flash pillar was pixel perfect, probably at max range as well. And this is how this engage started out.
Yeah, this hook really good from Hylissang. Tries to sidestep it, but not quite able to from Trymbi. Then the flash into pillar means that there's no way for, well, there's nowhere for Trymbi to go, rather. Upset. Props to Comp. His trap usage was really good there. He made life really awkward for Upset, who was trying to get in range and deal some damage, but they end up getting the kill anyway. And of course, it's not resulted in a significant gold difference, but Fnatic do find themselves with a small gold lead for now.
I think Odo, as well as Larssen, had CS advantages going into that play. You can see a small advantage for Larssen in the mid lane for now. And while this engage does look like it's going to fizzle, I just want to take a brief moment to talk about these bottom lanes, because we were, in our prep, focusing on them, talking about who are the best performing players and what to contrast. So when you see Upset versus Comp, kill participation higher for Comp thus far, but he's behind in damage per minute and basically bang on even in golds.
I think it's really interesting that you can see such a very high KDA from Upset, yet the kill participation is overall relatively low, and I think that that's the biggest difference in terms of the representation from what we've seen this split. Fnatic have not been a super bot side focused team this split, whereas Rogue have tried to play a lot through this bot lane, along with the bot lane 2v2 just securing themselves a lot of 2v2 kills. Now Malrang is trying to respond in kind. You can see him hovering around the lane. Hilly will have his flash back up. Malrang recognizes there's not really much I can pull off here, so I'm going to disengage. But I think it's really interesting when you compare these two AD carries, when you also contrast the amount of resources that they've had and what they've been able to do with the resources that they've been given. And credit to Fnatic, of course. Wunder, when he gets those resources, he has still had a very good performance and a very good split. But we are seeing a return to form with Fnatic playing a lot more towards bot side this game.
I do like the fact that they are showing a slightly more diversified approach. And of course, I'll talk about those bot laners without highlighting the supports. Hylissang at the moment, not having the same, let's say, quantity or amount of success as we've seen in seasons past. When you look at kill participation, when you look at the ganks he's had, kill per se, as well as forward percentage. But I do think it's interesting to contrast these two players, as Hylissang always likes to play forward and in the face of his enemy.
We see Malrang hovering around mid lane. Humanoid does have the flash.
Well, Humanoid's going to get interrupted by that steadfast presence. Beautifully set up and played.
That's a cool combo. I didn't even think about that one, but it makes a lot of sense. Hook comes through.
Not gonna find damage just yet. Hylissang gets caught out for now. Level 5 as Upset continues to step forward with that white-green combination. Not a huge amount of damage really landing on both parties. The turret is dropped and instantly taken out. Hylissang will use this time to at least bait out some sort of play. Dredge line will connect onto Trymbi. Flash is available to him. Moonlight Vigil comes out. Flash forward from Upset, but he's low. Down to 300 HP. Being fired on by Comp. Forced to back away. Those chakrams running amok. Comp's not going to die just yet as Wunder will be taken out by Malrang. And it looks like Comp and Trymbi have survived. Razork, level 6. He's got that subjugate available. The Pillar of Ice is out. Looking to chomp down on Odo. He eats an orange and it's not okay. Razork gets himself another 2 kills to 2. As that bottom lane, nobody died.
I love that just after we talk about these two bot lanes contesting to try and be the best bot lane in Europe, we see an all-in and neither of them die, demonstrating some of the mechanical prowess that exists between these two bot laners. Really exciting stuff, but on the top side, Rogue find themselves another kill on Malrang, in particular securing that one. And when we think about Rogue, Malrang facilitating his laners by setting up for ganks is a large part of where their success came from last split. Wunder feels like he's safe because he has a giant stacked wave. He has Razork on the Herald as well, but Odoamne with his use of the ultimate and Malrang committing the flash, they're able to secure that kill. But Fnatic will respond by getting themselves the first Herald.
All right, it's a 500 gold difference, 2 kills apiece, no dragon secured. Larssen maintains that CS advantage in the middle lane. And I feel like Larssen's had the push for most of the opening minutes of this game, allowing him to obviously build up a little bit of pressure onto Humanoid. He was the recipient of that fantastic gank by Malrang, and Rogue again marginally ahead. We've got ourselves a pretty bloody early game.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams are supposed to be two of the best in Europe, and so far we've had a pretty back and forth early game. The kind of, I think Malrang, I've been really impressed with what he's been trying to do in the early game, and Razork initially doing a good job of shutting it down, but as the game has continued, Malrang has found pathing around Razork and has been able to find some pretty successful ganks. This should be the first Drake of the game secured for Rogue. Razork now level 7, looking to set something up.
Pretty bold, stepping forward without immediate backup. Hylissang and Upset remained in lane, shoved that one forward. Humanoid also catching a wave. Razork gets away with the Scuttle Crab. Dragon secured by Rogue. And I think we were talking a little bit about the teams and expectations, but Rogue have consistently been reliable as Larssen's going to slide and glide out to safety.
Let's not forget that Rogue find themselves on a 7-game winning streak right now. Considering they started off the split with a 1-2 scoreline during the Super Week, the fact that they've been in this type of winning ways for so long, it's the regular season Kings Rogue, right? You have a look at their week 1. They struggled against G2 Fnatic, and then they got that win against Mad. And that win against Mad was, yeah, you know what I mean?
It was sketchy at best.
And the fact that they've been on this incredible winning streak since then, you could argue like, oh, it's due to their schedule. You know, they had these tough teams at the start, but like I think now they seem to be informed, which this game is a big test for them. You know, can they actually prove that they do deserve to be at the top and that they should continue the mantle of regular season King?
I mean, for Fnatic, this is the uphill battle. Rogue secure first tower in nearly 90% of their games. They've got second highest goal difference. And of course, that tower difference, it is the highest. It's a slightly odd statistic, but those percentage points mean a lot. It basically just means that Rogue will, on average, have more towers than their opponents. I think, you know, just to say some numbers on the other side, Fnatic only get first tower half of the games. They only get first herald in a third of the games. So for Fnatic, still some inconsistencies in their approach. But what I love now, 11.5 minutes in, basically even as far as the overall state of the game, but it does feel as though Rogue are just marginally ahead. They've got a few more proactive plays, and I think the fact that Humanoid is being bullied a little in the middle lane makes me a little nervous as we head into this mid stage.
Well, so there are a few things you can ask yourself if you're looking at this game and you're trying to figure out, oh, well, okay, who's in the better position, who's winning, etc., etc. Typically, Caitlyn lanes, her strength is, I mean, I wouldn't say that anymore she like has this mid-game trough. Like you could still argue that maybe she does, but that's like an old tried and true caster.
That is a classic caster
But
line.
what I will say about Caitlyn is that she is very effective at sieging towers in the early game, so getting early heralds is really valuable. The fact that Fnatic secured it and denied it will slow Rogue's ability to siege early on, and herald will also make it easier for Fnatic to be able to contest. Ooh, Malrang tried to use his ultimate there, but Razork with a quick sidestep. Will they be able to stop this? Not quite. Good secure there from Fnatic. Means that they'll make that mid tower a little bit weaker, and this will be one of the hardest sieging points for Fnatic. And now they're threatening a dive onto the bot side of the map and securing more plates. So when we, again, come back to this question of who's securing a better early game, like sure, the easy answer is Fnatic right now, given that they've just gotten a bunch of plates. But it's important to put into context that sieging against this Rogue comp is very difficult. Caitlyn traps, Renata, Azir, Gangplank ultimate.
Yep.
It's very difficult to take towers, which means that as much tower damage as you can get in the early game with this type of comp is extremely valuable for Fnatic if you enter the mid game relatively even. So I would say that right now Fnatic is much happier given the current state of the map, and they're going to secure themselves another plate, as Wunder should be able to chip that one away. There's another one. So right now that's 5 plates across the board, kind of being evenly spread across for Fnatic.
And of course that's going to give them that minute gold lead. Fnatic will continue to apply some pressure here. Wunder jumps on top of Odo, forced to flash away as the Cannon Barrage was melting his HP. Now Razork has found Malrang with no Keeper's Verdict. Flash is available if this Poppy needs it, and instead will just be able to waddle his way to safety.
The phase rush there coming in clutch from Malrang as he drops down the Chilling Smite to both apply the slow, get a bit of extra movement speed, and the phase rush means that he was one zoomy Yordle. That's the word I was looking for.
Vedi.
What?
I'm getting very excited for like team fights objective
Naturally,
battles.
that is a play-by-play thing.
Do you have a preference, or do you lean towards either one team for setting something up or potentially fighting? I mean, I know Rogue have got some disengaged tools, right?
Well, like, often in Pro, you have to think about who gets on the objective first, because different comps are good at doing different things, right? So, hang on, Larssen should be fine. Yep. So, the thing about Rogue's comp is it's very good at controlling space. With Caitlyn traps, with Azir soldiers, with Gangplank's ultimate, you do really well when you own a space first and you force the opposition to walk into you. Fnatic have pretty good poke, which means that things like Corki and Aphelios, they can contest this space, but if they can't actually move into the space to poke, then it becomes a lot harder. So often what you'll see is a lot of contention around the setup. And that's why you'll see what Fnatic is doing very wisely here is, look, they're trying to gain prio through bots because Rogue is playing through mid. This then gives them easier access into the river, and now you see this dance. How quickly can Rogue set up around the objective as the flash comes in?
Flash for flash traded and stolen away by Razork. Malrang's caught inside the pit as the hostile takeover will buy some time, but Humanoid and Upset are melting through Rogue. Thus far to 1-for-1, but Comp's running for his life, taken down over the wall, and Malrang flashes away from that Moonlight Vigil. Razork won't be able to pick up the kill. 2-for-1 and the Dragon to Fnatic.
Great engage from Fnatic and a really clutch secure there from Razork. I didn't think he'd be able to actually steal that one away, but there we saw a situation where Rogue didn't have all of that set up. Fnatic very smartly used their prio and bot to be able to shove in that wave, and then as a three-man collectively push their way through, as Wunder now in a bit of danger.
Gonna hop over the wall. Gnar's just moments away. Malrang feeling confident that the backup would help him, and I think Fnatic they dove in instantaneously.
Yeah. And that's where you have to give a lot of credit to Hylissang, and it comes back to what the Analyst desk was talking about earlier. When we see Hylissang on these melee supports, it gives Fnatic way more agency to actually force these engages. And so much props needs to be given, because look at Hylissang. So there's no traps here, there's no Azir poke, so Hylissang just flashes in, goes to the hook, forces Comp away. And this then gives access for Humanoid to come in from the flank, and look at Upset's positioning. Sidesteps the Renata ultimate, but he's just free hitting everyone. While Hylissang does lose his life, the fight ends up going heavily in the favor of Fnatic, and these traps, they're just not doing anything. So well played by Fnatic, very good decisiveness, really good response to how, even though Rogue got onto the objective first, Fnatic found a way into the river, found a good fight, and now they secured another Herald to boot.
I think it might be fair to say Rogue need a little bit of time as well. You want to set up those traps. You want to be able to ideally face down Fnatic from one sort of angle, because Humanoid and Upset were just uncontested. They were free hitting for quite a few seconds in that fight. That gives them the 2,000 gold lead. The duo lane's pushing up top with the help of Razork as well.
So now you can see Fnatic doing something that is tried and true for Fnatic, and they're rotating their bot lane around the map, and they're leveraging this Herald. They secured the bot tower, they move up top. Let's see if Odoamne can pull off a little play here. He has the ult. Nope, the barrels won't secure anything.
No, barrels don't find a target. Cannon Barrage still available. TP is up for Larssen as well, and Razork's coming in potentially from behind. Cannon Barrage used to clear out the minion wave. Shelly does get that bop onto the tower. And Fnatic are starting to push Rogue around the map, pressuring the mid lane. TP coming down. Malrang throws out the Keeper's Verdict, and the Steadfast Presence will interrupt Wunder's hop. But I do think they've got a numbers advantage for now. Larssen remains unchecked in the bottom lane.
So Larssen gonna continue to push. But right now, Fnatic... Oh, that pillar's going to interrupt!
No, it's on cooldown, I think.
I mean, it had to have been,
yeah.
right? There's no way Razork wouldn't use that. Okay, so Larssen gets out just in time, which means that Fnatic, they secure themselves top, mid, and bot. And again, like, so much of this early game, right? So much of it has to come back to Razork's pathing, which is kind of crazy to think about how, like, the butterfly effect, but Razork pathing from topside into red, seeing Malrang trying to set up for that bot gank, if Malrang gets that gank off, this whole game is very different. But by stopping that and then Razork securing bot side control into then a bot lane gank really set up all of the moving pieces for Fnatic to successfully play through their bot side and then kind of snowball the game through there. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that Fnatic have won the game. The gold lead is sizable and Fnatic is in a great position. But Rogue still have a comp that will allow them to win later game teamfights. The question is, can they execute well enough to come out on top?
Handle the pressure that Fnatic is applying. I still love that flash Pillar of Ice from Razork for first blood. Production and observers gave me a heads up, by the way. The Pillar was on a 3-second cooldown, which is why Larssen was able to escape. He did expend the teleport, however, and we're a minute away from the next dragon. It's only one apiece, so neither team really, forced to play for that. CS is pretty much even across the board. Itemization is pretty much even. I'm keeping an eye on where Humanoid's going with this build. Obviously, it changes on 12-13. But Vedi, I just have your voice in my head saying that Rogue ideally want to be first to an objective, ideally want some time to set up. And it looks like right now, Razork is pushing in and maybe dropping some wards.
Because let's swap it on the other way around. Right, that was really bad English. But let's say Fnatic is first on the objective. Now Rogue has to walk into all this poke, right? So now you have a composition that doesn't have the best engage tools. Trying to get close to Corki, trying to get close to Aphelios, and then if you do get close, oh, well, there's a Pillar of Ice that's in your way, slowing you down, and then there's also a potential Mega Gnar that you have to run past, and when you have little engage, you can see how difficult it then becomes for rogues to be able to walk up to the objective and actually leverage the range that they have, which is why being first is super, super important. And that's why you can see that in this position, in this map state, even though Rogue have the bot push, they're like, we have too many members top, Larssen doesn't have TP, let's not bother, let's just concede this Drake, let's just continue to scale for the time being.
I mean, this dragon is pretty inconsequential right now, as Humanoid goes forward and instantly taken out. Malrang waiting in the wings for that exact moment.
Yeah, Humanoid was not expecting that. He did have his flash up, though, so I'm surprised he didn't flash out of the Steadfast Presence, but regardless, that's another kill going over to Rogue. They will secure their first tower of the game.
Does that tilt Humanoid, or does he just brush that off as unlucky?
You just laugh. I think at least I would just laugh at that situation. I'd probably ask, why is Poppy here?
They're inside Humanoid's head. And of course, the fact that these two mid laners have faced one another so often. 7 wins to 6 in the regular season, 12 wins to 11 in playoffs. I love the fact that it was a first pick blind Azir from Larssen, super confident and comfortable. And right now, he currently has the better of Humanoid, but Fnatic as a team have the better of Rogue.
It's really interesting how close the head-to-head is between these two players. It is one of the longest-standing rivalries that we've now got here in the LEC, and to us two, they're still relatively new boys. You know what I mean? When we think of oldies, you think of Nuke, Duck, Odoamne, those guys that have been around since near the beginning.
Yeah, going on 8, 9, 10 years.
But admittedly, Larssen, Humanoid, they've been in the league 4
correct
years now. It's crazy how their rivalry has developed and how close the two are. Fnatic now control the top side of the map. Malrang trying to reclaim some of that control.
Well, that's a dredge line onto Malrang. Commits a number of abilities, securing at least that kill.
This could be a Baron.
Is up. No smite available.
Yep.
Cannon Barrage is a few seconds away.
Where did
Rogue contest this?
Hilly just flashed over the wall. He said, I'm not wasting time. I'm just getting in there.
Can they contest? Can they stop this? TP is up for Odo. 2 seconds for the Cannon Barrage. Sand Soldiers are available. 3,000 HP. TP being used. Emperor's Divide is up for Larssen. Down to 1,000 secured by Fnatic. Another barrel onto Humanoid after TP concludes. Enough Fnatic are being run down by 4 members. Another great barrel. Hop forward from Wunder. Uses the Gnar. Razork jumped on. Parlay and slash to the face. Larssen throwing out those Sand Soldiers. Command attack available. There goes Larssen looking for upset. Emperor's Divide secures the kill. 1, 2 members down. Wunder and Humanoid now running for their lives. Odo looking to chain those barrels. Flashed away from by Humanoid. There's a TP in the middle lane. And it looks like Fnatic have got away with a few of those buffs.
Wow, so Rogue played that team fight incredibly well, considering that was a 4v5. The flank from Odoamne with the barrels was perfect. The ultimate was extremely good. And it felt like the Fnatic really didn't have many options to respond. Of course, they still get away with the Baron, but let's see that initial pick onto Malrang. ultimately this is a bit of a mistake. He feels like he has more control over his jungle than he actually does. He does have his flash up, chooses not to flash away from the hook, and at this point he's realized, okay, I'm dead. So big mistake there from Malrang. He definitely could have gone out of that position, but the ultimate from GP does so much work. It kind of forces Fnatic more into the pit. Then the ultimate for Con comes through, and look at this barrel onto Humanoid. Chunks him out massively, and now Rogue can actually chase down, leveraging their range. Really good stopwatch from Larssen as Odoamne gets the initial pick onto Razork. Upset tries to turn it around. You can see how long he can actually stay in the fight, and it's not very long at all. Larssen then realizes, you know what, I can just commit onto this play, invests his flash, secures the kill. But just a really well-played fight from Rogue.
It was, and that was ultimately 4v5. They were able to, kind of harass down Fnatic that were focusing the Baron. But I think one of the highlights, Wunder, Humanoid, and Hilly get away with that buff. The fact that both solo laners have it is so important. Larssen and Malrang slowed down by that Pillar of Ice. The fourth member of Rogue's defense makes their way up. Wunder's in the mid lane, and Odo's down bottom, so they will hold for now on that top tower. But Fnatic are not done. They're going to continue the siege. And I think, by the way, Vedi, I have to go back. You talked about how hard it is to kind of take down towers into this Rogue comp. With the help of Baron buff, that makes it a lot easier. It may explain why Fnatic are chasing all the way forward.
Upset.
Style takeover comes out, and Upset's held in place long enough on the counter barrage to secure the kill, or the barrel. Humanoid gets chunked out by a parlay. Wunder's continuing to pressure the middle lane, and that's a knock against the wall into a two-man follow, but the damage just is not there. Now the TP coming in from Wunder.
Malrang tries to set up a play, but as you rightly said, Quickshot, the follow-up just wasn't quite there from Rogue. But in reality, Fnatic's still fine with this. They end up securing 2 towers, both top and mid, and all they lose is Upset. And he didn't even cost his flash for that, so sure, Rogue get themselves a kill, but in terms of map control, Fnatic still find themselves in a very good position. Of course, that Baron power play not going to look the prettiest because they did end up getting killed around the objective, but now the Drake is up. This is going to be an important one because Fnatic could put themselves on Soul Point. Let's see how things play out.
Upset is still in the bottom lane. He's going to be a little late. Wunder making his way forward. And Razork, not just there yet. The Subjugate on cooldown can see the dragon. It's only 2 apiece at 25. And we continue to play this one out. There's a few big team fights still to come.
So that was the big net win for Rogue after that little play because Fnatic had no ults there. There was no Hilly ult, no Upset ult, no Razork ult, meant that Fnatic, if they tried to force a fight, it would not have gone super well. Of course, while Rogue were in a similar position, the fact that Larssen still had his ulti ready was just going to be so massive for the Rogue comp. So they chose not to risk it. The Drakes are 2-2 apiece. And this has definitely been our closest game of the night.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And remember that Rogue are on that 7-game winning streak. I think for Fnatic, being able to pick up that early advantage thanks to Razork's pathing, which Vedius, you've talked about a fair amount, and to be in a position at 26 minutes where they're still dictating sort of the flow of the game. Fnatic are looking to bounce back from that 0-2 week 4 to potentially look at taking down Rogue will be very, very crucial when you look towards the end of summer, when you look towards playoff seeding.
And I wonder if you can bring up the standings for us right now, Quickshot, because I think we should look back and think about how close and important matches like this are for Fnatic. You find themselves, obviously, SK and BDS being highlighted right now, but
not the one that we need to highlight, but I will show you the standings for everyone else on top.
The important thing to recognize is that Fnatic find themselves only at 5-4, and they are so close to the rest of the pack. Every win is super important in terms of being able to make more progress to the top of the lead. So getting a win off Rogue would be massive in terms of the stand.
Ooh, Rogue stepping forward straight into a 5-man stack of Fnatic. This is a 5v5 showdown for now. One pushing top and bottom lane. We're a minute away from the next Baron. We'll see Humanoid going to catch and push that wave. He has teleport available. Actually, all 4 teleports are up and available. I'm looking down the rest of the summoner spells. Larssen will have his flash in just a couple seconds. Humanoid is just dinged 16. Taking a look at his build, by the way, on 12-13. Gale Force as well as Tiamat. Making his way forward. We're not going to see that same level of explosive poke damage.
Yeah, for sure. But he's still going to hurt. The poke is still there. It's just not going to be quite, I get hit by a rocket, I I have to be sent to the hospital immediately. It's still going to be lethal. The Corki's still going to do a lot of damage, but we'll see how much damage as we get closer and closer to the fights. The Baron spawns in 10 seconds. Fnatic is back out on the map first. They have the mid in push. The mid in push. They have the push in mid. They have the push in top. Razork getting a little deep here.
Oh, he is indeed. He's got the pressure for now. Ace in the hole comes out. Razork stays alive just a few seconds longer. Larssen takes him down. Gnar is up for Wunder. Hylissang forced to flash. The Moonlight Vigil does so much damage. Upset. Gale forces forward. Flashes over. The Emperor's Divine, but here comes Odo. Drops a barrel. Gets the kick onto Upset, but it's at the cost of Cobb's life. Odo jumped on by 3 members of Fnatic. He's forced to run for his life. Wunder hops forward, looking for that boomerang, waiting for the cooldown. And Malrang, the man who was jumped on first, managed to catch out Razork. Runs for his life. It's a 1-for-1, but all of a sudden, that Baron is looking very juicy. Malrang escapes with his life.
In the fog of war as well.
That?
They couldn't find him. He's able to escape, but huge props to Fnatic, considering how badly that fight started. They nearly won it in the end, and honestly, I would say that they did. They can still threaten the Baron, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
I really want to see how much damage Upset dealt that fight, playing it to perfection. Multiple members of Fnatic in the pit. This is a 3-man Baron for now. 4 of Rogue, closing the gap. 6,000 HP, it's low. Malrang is on 250 HP. 5 seconds on Smite, 2,500 inside the pit. Channel on Hex, can he steal it? He does! Rogue do it! Malrang gets the Baron! Razork flashes forward or hops 40s, looking for that Pillar of Ice. Trymbi split away from the rest of the team. The package thrown down, chucking out the rockets. Ace in the hole, not going to be enough to pick up the kill. Odo's the target, and Razork will find it. Now Trymbi and Comp turn it back around. It's another 2-for-2, but the Baron to Rogue.
Malrang, you absolute mad lad! There was like 1 second on your smite and you're still able to steal that? What a hero play from the jungler from Rogue. Fnatic looking to get a collapse. Oh my god, but there's still so much of this game left to play. The Dragon spawns, 25 seconds, both teams getting back out on the Rift.
Teleport there into the middle lane. Trymbi, Comp, and Larssen looking down Wunder, Upset, and Hilly. Comes out the Vigil, and not a lot to follow up. 14 seconds before the Dragon spawns, and Hilly still just trying to threaten something. Potentially throw out that dredge line. Wunder, by the way, has TP available to him, but he's just mega gnawed out, so we'll need some time to cool down before a fight, and Fnatic concede it because Vedius, the 3rd Dragon, it's only the next one. And you have to fight. 31 minutes in, we are dead even as far as these teams are concerned.
Oh, I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that Baron steal, but I know at some point we'll see it, and I want to know how pixel perfect that was for Malrang. What exactly happened? Because that was one of the craziest steals I've ever seen. We were counting down the smite timer. I didn't think he was going to have enough, but Fnatic, they delayed it. They delayed it because they were worried about the burst, and because they delayed it, it gave Malrang just enough time to get his smite off cooldown. At least, I think he stole it with a smite.
We have to find out.
Oh, we're about to find out. Okay, so you can see the timer at the bottom of your screen. So does he actually smite it? So he hex flashes over the wall.
Oh.
Where does it come from? It's Q smite. Wait, it's not his smite. His smite wasn't up. He just stole it with a Q.
That is...
He stole it with his Q.
What? There are no words for that moment. Fnatic, when they watch the replay back, definitely gonna be kicking themselves, but it puts us in this position where Rogue, remember, we're in the deficit. Rogue were being pushed around by Fnatic, and goal difference is now balanced right back out. 3.5 minutes until the next Dragon that will be for Mountain Soul.
That's the second time that they did it against Mad too. There was the Ezreal ult that stole it the last time.
Well, can they finish this game out? Rogue looking to be 8-0, continuing to siege, take down yet another tower. This is going to even it up with Fnatic at 5-5. Fnatic, teleport is available for Wunder. He's level 17, looking for some opportunities to jump onto that back line, but last few moments it's been fantastic team fights. How do Rogue close this game out?
Oh, I don't know. Don't ask me questions. Look at this game. I mean, honestly, it's just been really incredible team fights from both teams. I think if you want to talk about a standout, Larssen his Azir has been so impactful in every single fight, and even at the very end there, when Fnatic were trying to close things out, he sidestepped Humanoid's rocket, which definitely would have killed him, to then not only get that kill, but to then turn around and get another kill from the rest of the teams that were playing it. He has 0 deaths in this game, and obviously it's not the highest kill game ever, but with the amount of action that's happened, the fact that he has walked away unscathed should go to show how well his positioning and play has been.
It's been flawless, and of course Upset in that previous fight was able to disengage, was able to get away from everything that Larssen threw at him. A quick look at some of those items, 4 to 4. I think Odo's barrels are going to be very problematic if he can continue to find them one after the other. TPs are up, Razork will have his flash shortly. Most of the flashes coming up. Razork and Trymbi the last to go. 2 minutes for both major objective. And we've got ourselves set for a banger. At Berlin, I have a question. Will Rogue win this game? Will Fnatic win this game?
Ooh, it's pretty even. That's pretty even.
To my ear, I think there were more cheers for Rogue.
That's kind of what I heard too.
I think so.
But it's close. It's definitely close. And what a great way to round out day 1 here in week 5. This is, of course, the beginning of our second half of the split. The race for playoffs is officially on. All of these teams are looking to secure those playoff spots along with those world spots. Things are only getting tenser and tenser, and a win here will be massive for the rest of the season moving forward.
And Vedi, just a quick reminder that Fnatic were able to take down Rogue. One of their 2 losses is Fnatic. Very, very important for the rest of the season. All right, 1 minute for Mountain, 1 minute for Baron. Malrang trying to turn around. Razork does get handshook backwards, but Rogue are somewhat split up. Comp is potentially being jumped on Flash for Flash. Hilly will be very happy with that. The rest of Fnatic continue to pressure forward. Malrang is miles away from the squads.
Okay, so of course the Dragon is still 50 seconds away. So Rogue are just a little bit early in terms of trying to contest control, and Fnatic make the smart call of let's just fight, or let's just keep pushing down mid. Upset leveraged that wave, and Hilly saw an opportunity to get Comp's flash. Now this could be huge in the upcoming fight. Losing your Caitlyn this late into the game would be massive, but of course the additional damage threat of Larssen and Odoamne still exist. I respect the attempt from Hilly. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't quite able to find it.
Surely Rogue can see the Dragon and try to defend the Baron. It would only be 3 to 3. Malrang once again on the front line. Teleport being used here from Larssen. The rest of Fnatic now stepping forward. Comp, I think, actually used his Gale Force forward. Pillar of Ice there will dissuade further follow-up. Humanoid, does he go in? 1, 3, and 2, 4 items completed. It feels to me, Vedi, like Rogue want to fight this Dragon.
Oh, I mean, of course, yep. The problem is they don't really have an easy way into the river. It's going to melt before Rogue can really contest it. The Baron is now up. The teams are tied 3 to 3 in Drakes. They were like, Casters, it's not close enough. We're going to make it closer, but here's the pillar.
Oh, Trymbi's very low. Humanoid, if he jumps forward, has to deal with that Sun Disc. A lot of Sand Soldiers to get through, and Wunder's Meganor is going to slowly start to time out. Baron is up. There's no real vision to speak of. The Malrang and Trymbi are low. Fnatic, they've started this one off. Hylissang's coming from south of the river. Malrang, Keeper's Verdict, sends 2 away. Now they hop into the pit. Hilly is looking for a target, but he can't find it. Larssen blows him up. It's now a 5 versus 4. Humanoid's dropped down low, and Wunder's got no Mega to speak of. Rogue, this time, in control of the pit.
And now look at how much control they have. The Sand Soldiers, can they get the traps down?
The burst damage is still very high, so the heal has been used. Larssen goes for the Emperor's Divide, but it's flashed away as Upset will once again escape. Odo, this time being jumped on by Razork, and Wunder, that's the shutdown. Trymbi finds it onto Upset.
Humanoid killed Upset!
Are still running for their lives. Odo gets poked by Baron for another shot, and now all of a sudden Fnatic are back available. The Baron survives, but the teams do not.
I love these team fights. Fnatic, they should be losing these fights much harder than they are. Humanoid.
Gets caught, pulled back. The damage onto Trymbi is so immense. The rocket will not find its target. But now they're forced to run away.
Wait, but
Wunder
that's
is here.
massive. That's massive because the rest of Fnatic have been able to reset. And, but Rogue, they're just going to commit to this anyway. Wunder is hovering around. Here comes Malrang.
Fight!
The
Razork
TP?
currently alone. 1v2, but no damage finding its target. Hilly needs to get through the trap. They managed to find Humanoid. The Hexflex shield stays alive for a few seconds, but Larssen manages to pick it up through that Maw of Malmortius. And Can they go for Baron again? TP.
Under the
once more.
TP.
Vedi, it's just non-stop. Rogue is still trying to secure this objective. Hylissang's got the ultimate.
I think they've got it.
They're going to look to finish it off. 2,000 HP. Hilly steps forward and will not be able to find anything. Rogue finish the Baron. They extend that gold lead by 4,000. And it's 2.5 minutes to Soul.
Oh my word, what a team fight. And it ends up being Rogue's victory. They're gonna propel the gold forward. They will secure the Baron. And Fnatic find themselves now on the defense. They'll have to try and protect their base as Larssen, the Emperor of Shurima, will be setting his sights on the Nexus.
6-0-6 for this Azir. Has been involved in 12 of his team's 13 kills and heavily involved, frontlining those Emperor's divides.
Is nuts right now. He is doing so much damage. He just melts anyone that gets too close to him. But I can't believe how crazy. These fights have not gone as I expected. Dude, that's a lot of damage. Props to Humanoid. He's been doing his fair share, and he's not running the AP build. You know, Corki has been nerfed, but late game Corki's still a thing.
Yeah, we saw one of those big ones hitting inside the Baron pit. Still doing a lot of work, not quite game-ending tier.
So in the last team fight, what was crazy was once Larssen went into stopwatch, Trymbi used his ultimate onto both Humanoid and Upset. Upset cleansed it, but then Humanoid just killed Upset. So that was that.
Oh man, there's too many things to follow right now as Rogue will use this Baron to secure their 6th tower of the game. A minute and a half away from Dragon, reaching pretty much full builds. Several members. Upset got that rapid fire cannon. Just 5th and final, but he needs time, needs to be able to find those targets, and the pressure from Malrang, from Odo, from Larssen, from all different angles has been gigantic. I hit that with my elbow, that was not intentional. Okay, Vedi, let's judge setup. Rogue, they're here early. They've got the traps, they're pushing the vision. This means it has to be Rogue favored.
It should be. They just need to push out this bot wave, but it looks like they're not going to push it just yet. They're waiting to get another wave mid. The Dragon is still spawning in about 50 seconds time, and by keeping it here, it makes it harder for Fnatic to clear out that wave because they can't overextend. So Rogue, I think, doing the smart thing. They can probably send someone in the near future to push it out, but for now, they're just holding control over this bot side jungle.
Oh, observers, if this drags out a moment or two, can you toggle to Fnatic vision just to see how much darkness there is? Dancing on the edge, Hylissang gets chunked down. This is what Fnatic are working with. Hylissang steps forward, the barrel, it's gigantic! Cannon Barrage not going to be able to finish off the kill. Hilly needs to run for his life. Wunder can stack that Mega Gnar. He's got his sights set on Comp. Handshake pulls Comp backwards, and a rocket drops him a little bit lower. Wunder still trying to get that ulti, and Hilly will buy some time to heal up.
Here comes Malrang!
That's the stun! Into the wall! Comp gets the final blow! Hilly will be a little late to this party. 65-second death timer. Dragon is up at Rogue. They're pushing forward. They're pushing into the base.
They've got the Sun Disc as well. Odoamne has the TP. Rogue, though, they're not going to overcommit. They're going to make their way towards the bot tower, and Odo's going to solo the Drake.
Malrang gets knocked up by that Pillar of Ice. Upset gets choked out. So much damage. Her Sand Soldiers in range from Comp doing work. The tower will be the next focus. Soul secured for Rogue, looking for their 8th win in a row. One inhibitor down, another to follow. 30 seconds before Humanoid is up.
Fnatic, they're going to need some type of miracle fight to come out ahead, but the range just seems so brutal for Fnatic to deal with. Rogue continue to keep Fnatic at arm's length as they find pick after pick, but that is Fnatic's base left intact.
Oh my word, 2 inhibitors, the Soul. Malrang finding that heroic charge into the wall. Just unlocked everything. And of course you saw the vision, like Fnatic, they had darkness. They had to try something and ultimately stepped just one moment too far.
Just a really great play from Malrang. Look at how fast he is with the Dead Man's play into Flash, Slam. Humanoid, there was very little he could do about it there. Even if you use the W, the steadfast presence is going to prevent you from dodging anyway. So just a really good play, and arguably just slightly poor positioning there from Humanoid ends up getting punished. So Rogue now find themselves with what, 5.5, 6k gold lead. The Baron spawns in a minute and a half, and Rogue, they're just taking their time. They don't want to risk anything. They know that they're stronger right now. They are so much stronger. The only real way in which Fnatic can turn this around is if they can find some type of pick onto Rogue, but with the GA now coming out onto Comp, all the summoners being up and available, It's a very difficult task to accomplish.
It is indeed. Larssen and comp with flashes available. Actually, everyone on Rogue except Malrang for now. Number of summoners up on Fnatic's side. The package is being delayed here. Humanoid wants to hold on to it for as long as possible. Super minions making their way towards the base.
Whoa.
Package picked up. This is the double TP. This is the double TP. Megadol's available. It needs to be massive. That's not the way. Malrang with the keeper's verdict. But Razork is the focus for now. Chunk down low. Con finds the kill. It's actually Odo that secures it. The Malrang goes golden. Is upset. Cannot shoot any targets. Humanoid forced to run for his life. It was a bold strategy, Cotton, and it did not pay off.
Oh, the idea was so good. I loved the idea from Fnatic, but it just couldn't quite come together. Such a great ultimate from Malrang to split apart the duo. Humanoid was left isolated, and Rogue could very quickly regroup. Now they make their way towards the final Tier 3 tower of Fnatic.
Inhibitor will be the third of the game. It's 10 seconds to Baron, 30 seconds until Razork is alive. A Nexus turret falls to those super minions, and Fnatic have to clear them out, push them back, and this should allow an uncontested Baron. Third of the game for Rogue. Malrang with the hero play again, interrupting that engage.
The Baron now secured. Rogue immediately make their way towards the top lane. There's very little left standing in their way. God, but that was a play for what it's worth. Like, in the position that you're in, not many teams would come up with that. And that's why I have a lot of respect for Fnatic, because you have to try and do something, you know?
Yeah.
When your backs are literally against the wall, you've got to try and make that miracle play, and that was so close to being that miracle play. Rogue just responded too well and shut it down before it could be anything too problematic.
I was just looking at that Narbonne, looking at how many members of Rogue were inside the choke point. Did not come to be, and now with Baron-empowered minions, Cannon Barrage used a little bit early. Good chunk there on to Upset, and this will allow Rogue to take out the tower. 5 members pressing forward. Upset needs to heal back up as much as he can. He's going to deal with the super in the bottom lane. Third secured now for Rogue. They're playing this one as respectfully as they can. Of course, Wunder now going to be a small threat. Flashes up. Wait for him to time out and go back to Mini Gnar, and then see, do Rogue continue the siege? It feels like that's the case. Dredgeline will find Malrang. Pillar of Ice locks him forward, but Hylissang is so incredibly low. Malrang gets the bailout for a moment or two longer, but the kill is secured by Humanoid. Wunder chunked down by the parlay. Upset still full health. Got himself that red as well. Stepping forward, the AoE from the blue gun doing work. Larssen caught by the Dredgeline, but there's not enough damage. He flashes to safety, gets himself the kill onto Hylissang. Upset remains alive. Upset's got no summons available though, and the rest of Rogue are focusing on the Nexus. Upset can do naught to stop Rogue. The 8 streak continues. Rogue take down Fnatic. I am exhausted.
What an incredible game. We saw some crazy team fights, but it will be Rogue that continue their winning ways. 8 games in a row. Question marks surrounded the roster after a struggling start to the split, but they found their formula, they found their way to win. And huge credit to that man in the mid lane. The order was given, it was Fnatic's execution, and it was Rogue that delivered the blow.
7-0-10. First pick, Azir. Larssen involved in 17 of his team's 18 kills. But my word, Rogue had to work for that.
Oh yeah,
game.
they really did. Like, I have to give so much credit to Fnatic's early game. They really did so much right. I need to go back. I mean, it was that Baron steal, right? It was literally that Baron steal that swung the game. This really was such a great game from Fnatic for so long, and it's important to recognize that you need to go back up. We don't have live, it's hard to dissect
so
exactly,
hard.
but that Baron steal was massive from Malrang. The fact that I think it was his Q, I'm pretty convinced, that secured it, and then that began the comeback for Rogue.
I mean, my hands are shaking from that game. The tension was unrelenting, and both teams managed to both successfully accomplish plays that led to an advantage, but also got punished for it. For Fnatic, though, the team that I think had more to prove coming into today, that was a very good showing against Europe's #1 squad.
Oh, for sure. And I think that Fnatic struggles last week, I felt like that we didn't really see them this week. I think that we saw a lot of great things from Fnatic overall, and I expect them to come in strong once again tomorrow, but man, so many highlight plays from both sides of this game. Malrang, he made some clutch plays. Like, when you think about player of the game, the person who had the most impact, it was Malrang.
Yeah.
Right?
You can't pick. You can't pick. I mean, look, there's 3 candidates, key player of the game. Malrang, Larssen, Odoamne.
It's a tough one.
It's
a tough
super,
one.
super tough because ultimately the entire team played incredibly well. And like every single one of them had moments that you could say were game defining.
Yeah, I think like Larssen obviously had like, in terms of individual performance, like the best player on the Rift today. But Malrang, oh, clutch. He was so clutch today.
Charges into the wall.
Odoamne's TPs and his use to the ultimate, like all of it was just... we saw some crazy team fights today. That's going to be a fun game to rewatch and recap. What an incredible way to round out the day.
For an old man, Odoamne has some GP barrels. Well played. We can head up to Machine and Odo.
I'm old, man.
Old?
For esports, yeah?
I know, but the audacity from Trevor Granddad Henry over there.
I mean, that's
true.
fair.
The audacity!
That's true. He's old enough to kind of be my dad.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what he was up to. But I got Odo with me, and he was up to no good. 8 wins in a row now, bro. It's, I mean, after that first week, could you visualize this? Could you see this turning it around so quickly and so efficiently?
I mean, even though we're 8 wins in a row, I think at the beginning of the run, those wins were, some of them were steals. Our game wasn't really, our gameplay wasn't really so clean. I think by like our first like 4 or 5 win streak, 3 of those games were kind of sketchy and maybe not like super deserved wins, you know. But I mean, we kind of started to ramp up, you know. At the end of the day, wins are wins. Now I feel like we're kind of going back to our usual form. So now I'm glad that we got those steals at the beginning, you know. I feel like we would have ended up here anyway, even if we would have lost more at the beginning. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad for it.
Talking of steals, wouldn't mind bringing up the one of this game. Let's jump into it if we can bring it up, because I'm talking about Malrang. The caster's trying to work out how he stole it. Do you have the be-all and end-all? Was it just a Q? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Malrang was like, he's 1 HP, so our initial plan was that me and Larssen are going to try to steal it together, because we were kind of banking that my barrel was going to crit and he can do, like, you know, his Q and kind of have enough damage.
Sure.
And then Malrang, out of nowhere, he's just flashing into the pit with like 10% HP and he just steals it, so I was like, okay.
Gangster, kind of gangster.
Relax. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of where, I mean, I think we were winning the game, but we kind of inted just before the Nash. So I feel like the steal kept it in our, you know, in our yard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how is the kind of the voices of the team divided in that respect? You know, in terms of keeping everyone cool when you are on the verge of an int.
I mean, it wasn't that bad because we felt like our comp was pretty good. So even if we fall behind, even if they would have gotten that Nash, we were like, yeah, it just kind of sucks. But we kind of have the tools to win. And I don't know, I feel like compared to the beginning of the split, everyone individually kind of matured in terms of, you know, their role in communication. I feel like there's not as much chaos as before. We're giving each other a bit more space to talk, and everyone's a bit more optimistic and has a bit more, you know, trust in our picks and each other. So it was nice. If it was the beginning of the split, it would have been a bit of a, yeah, a bit of a shit show.
Yeah, well, perfect word for it. I've used that one before myself. I wanted to ask a little bit, actually, bigger picture, because you know what, you know me. I rock up to a League of Legends event, and you know, just jumping in, trying to get my feet in wet and understanding exactly what's going on.
Completely like clueless, but smurfing it in the end.
Well, I mean, it's not my hottest day. It's not my hottest day today, but we'll warm into it. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, the big picture, because normally about week 5, you've got some clear front runners. You know, you've got your usual candidates, and then a couple of, you know, plucky young dogs. Rogue at one point, where the plucky young upstarts. So just help me have a look. I don't know if we can bring it up, but just in terms of the scores, how close they are. We had what, a 4-way tie coming into today. If we could bring up that. I know I've just thrown production under the bus. This is not in the schedule.
I mean, I kind of know what was going on. I mean, it used to be a lot closer, but Fnatic and Excel and even G2 dropped the ball, you know, last couple of weeks. Because by like week 3 or 4, everyone was like super hyped that, you know, Excel, Fnatic, G2, Rogue, even Matt, especially Matt, because Matt is kind of improving massively compared to Spring Split. Everyone was like hyped that the split is a lot more competitive, but we started seeing them drop some games. So I feel like now, I mean, we're kind of having a breakaway, and everyone's still fist fighting it over there in the middle, but it's still too early, you know, to kind of have a definitive answer on, you know, the power rankings going towards the end of the split, because in 4 weeks, a lot can change.
Oh,
Someone
absolutely.
can go 0-8.
Yeah, I mean, well, so, yeah, someone can go 8-0. Someone can go...
Especially us, we can go 0-8 as well.
Oh, stop. Stop it right now.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, but I mean, it's certainly unpredictable. But through a pro player's lens, my last question, but I want to ask, you know, who would be your sleeper pick? You're scrimming them, you're grinding them, you're weighing up the power rankings. Is there a particular team that you still think perhaps is being slept on, perhaps could sneak that 4th spot that's just been given?
I mean, I'm a bit confused because Misfits is not looking great at all, at least in our scrims, but they're just on 5-game win streak. Actually, they lost today, so the hype train kind of derailed.
Okay.
But coming into today, they were performing really, really well. I didn't really know where it was coming from, so I felt like they were kind of a sleeper pick, but after today it changed. And I don't know, it mostly just depends on G2, because right now everyone's like, yeah, G2's in the middle of the pack, they're not really doing that great, but when they wake up, they have a lower bracket. I don't know what it was, 15-game win streak, and
they can do that.
They just win the split. So, yeah, I mean, you can't really write them off. But I don't know.
It's tough.
I don't really have a dark horse.
Well, I appreciate the insight all the same. I think a lot of people are just waiting for G2 to start that engine again.
Maybe tomorrow against us.
Hey, there you go. A little teaser for you. And a little teaser for what's coming up next. PGL's coming. Trymbi's on it. It's going to be a blast. Odo, once again, thank you for the carry. Much love.
Always my pleasure.
We'll see you tomorrow. PGL, stick around. Stick around.